Hello, and welcome to another episode of Average Glow. My name is Holly Rose. I'm so happy you're here today. Today is going to be a little bit of a part two to last week's episode because I got a breast reduction and I just want to share my experience to anyone that is out there, even remotely considering it or wanting it or not sure if they should have it. I want to just answer all questions. So today is going to be a Q&A, questions and answers for questions that have trickled in since posting that episode. And if you haven't seen that episode, I would definitely suggest go and check that out first. I cover a lot more in detail about my entire experience, all the way from what were my reasons for even wanting the surgery, to my consultation, to who I used, to my preparation, to the surgery itself, and to my recovery, how I've been doing. And that episode I recorded at 2 weeks post surgery. I am currently at almost 4 weeks post surgery. So I have a few more updates about my recovery, although in general, things have been going very well. So please go check that out first. And if you are very interested in this content, I've tried to organize as much as possible all of the content into one place. So if you go onto YouTube, there is a playlist about my breast reduction journey. You can go check that out. It's got both of these podcast episodes in it, and it has all of the shorts that I've uploaded as well. So you can follow along with the journey there or on Instagram. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Now, before we get into today's episode, if you saw my post on Instagram, you will see that it went crazy viral. And I'm so grateful. If you found me through that, I'm so insanely grateful for you. If you haven't seen or know what I'm talking about, please go find my Instagram and go follow me. It is at Average Glow Podcast. But essentially, what I did was I posted a reel that went a little bit viral, has, I think, over 1 million views now. But it was just a trend that I had seen other women doing. That was, you wear a white t-shirt and you draw where your current chest was sitting before, having surgery. I purchased a size small instead of a medium, which is what I would typically wear. So it wasn't like form fitting, but tight enough. And, my chest before I had surgery, my nipples would be a little hard. Okay. And so I had a lot of comments about that, a lot of comments about my size, a lot of men thinking that they were perfect. Sure. I saw that video, and even truly now I'm like, not horrified by how I looked, but I didn't like them for a reason, right? I didn't like them. That's really all that matters at the end of the day. I had the surgery and I had posted that video after even already having the surgery. So although I appreciate and acknowledge that there were many men complimenting me, they were kind of complimenting that past version of me that no longer existed. So I a little bit disassociated with that. And that's fine because there were a lot of people who were not complimenting me. And so every comment just rolled right off my back. But what I will say is I did see every single comment, every single message, every single share and post that were from women who are inspired by this kind of content, who have reached out to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you've made me feel so much more comfortable about my surgery. My surgery is coming up," or, "Oh, I've wanted the surgery forever. Would you recommend it?" And that is why I'm here today. I just want to answer more questions, be as informative as possible. I mentioned this in the last episode, but I just am doing this to be informative. So do not let me persuade you either way. Take it for what you will. This will either convince you to have the surgery or convince you out of it. That is your decision and your decision alone. But I do want to just share my experience. I created this podcast to empower women. That is my core root and intrinsic belief system and value is uplifting women. I am a girl's girl through and through. I even have an episode about how to become more of a girl's girl. I am just a huge supporter of women. And so the surgery is more than just having a surgery for me. It is a full new chapter in my life. And I talk all about reinventing your life. Not to say surgery is always the answer, but in the realm of all of the different categories that I have been trying to up level and elevate, the surgery made sense to me and it worked out for me. I was able to manifest it into existence, becoming into my life. And so I'm so happy I did it. And this is a new chapter. I truly, truly believe this is like a new chapter of confidence unlocked for me. There are so many things ahead. And it sounds like I'm bragging, but the good news is that this confidence in me is about to be poured out into you. If you are listening, all of this energy, all of this confidence I have is my words of affirmation that I can pour onto you. So again, this isn't meant to convince you in or out of having surgery. This isn't meant to say even that surgery is the answer for reinvention of your life. But for me, this is one of my chapters. And so I'm happy you're here for it. Thank you so much for being interested in it. And, thank you for your support. I just really wanted to say that up at the top of the episode. So let's get into it. Okay. Now, the first question is one of the most important, and it was asked kind of often. And it was, can you create a list of any post or pre op essentials for surgery? And I'm so happy that you asked that. I am curating a list and I am going to use the app. It's called Shop My, and it's kind of like a little marketplace where I can post different links to items that you may need. Now, I do want to disclose these are affiliate links. Okay. This is something I've only set up recently because I've been asked this question so much, but truly, truly, I just am curating a list for you of what the essentials are. And my top two biggest ones that I'm absolutely promoting are the wedge pillow that I use from Amazon. It is not expensive. I think it's like $39. Obviously, that price could change, so don't quote me, but check the links. I am going to be putting my Shop My link in the description, in the show notes, if you're listening to this podcast, or in the YouTube description if you're watching. So go check that out, browse around. There's some options, and I hope it's helpful. Like I said, that wedge pillow is something that you'll 100% be needing. I believe you're supposed to sleep on your back up to 4 weeks. I may do it longer. I am typically, or before surgery, I was typically a full side sleeper and stomach sleeper, honestly. And so the thought of having to sleep on my back for up to 4 weeks sounded insane. And, I just saw, okay, get a wedge pillow because you're also supposed to be a little bit elevated and on your back. And I have been sleeping really well with that wedge pillow. I'm actually so insanely surprised. It's very comfortable and I've been sleeping just fine. I haven't even rolled over once or like accidentally rolled over in the middle of the night. I've also been sleeping like with a larger pillow, just one I already owned, under my knees when I'm sleeping. So that's something for you to consider. Another idea too is that I actually have two of them. I was able to borrow one from a friend who had just recently had a surgery. And so I put one on my couch and one on my bed. And I just have these two like little setups already ready. So when I was out of surgery, I didn't have to lift that pillow because it's heavy or ask somebody to lift it for me. I just had these two nice little cozy areas for me to just relax and watch TV. So highly recommend that. Second thing I want to recommend is this high impact sports bra. Now I took it off for this video, but I have been wearing it every single moment other than when I take a shower. And I will say it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it is what my doctor recommended, and it has been holding me and compressing me in so that I have no fear of tearing or moving in the way I'm not supposed to. He also gave a list of 3 total. And so I'm going to have 2 of the ones I've purchased linked on there. You can certainly figure out what's best for you based on the price as well. But those are also not too bad. I believe in the $40 range. I would have loved to pay less for that, to be totally honest, but whatever, $40. And now I have purchased a total of 5 bras just because my mom and I were doing laundry every single day to make sure I always had a clean one to change into. So the more you have available to you, just the easier it's going to be on you. So take that into consideration. And then, like I said, I'm going to be continuing to update that list as I think of more things. So even if I post this now and your surgery isn't until, I've seen a lot of people say like October or this fall, which makes sense because of swimming. You can't swim when you have this surgery. Save that link or save this podcast episode so that you can refer back to it and it'll just continually be like a live update of what I feel like is the best. So go check that out if you're interested. Okay, next question. I got this one a lot and sometimes I responded, sometimes I didn't because I just wasn't quite sure the intentions. But some people were asking, what size was I before and what size am I now? So I was I believe a 34 double D, but those were the size bra that I had before I had nursed my daughter for 2.5 years. So I never really got resized. They kind of fit, but was, low and flat and maybe a little pouring out, but they didn't feel like they had as much volume as they used to. Like in my 20s, for instance, like they felt a little deflated from nursing. So I believe I was a 34 double D. That maybe sounds like it's not huge enough to get a surgery, but to each their own. I felt it was. I just really wanted the shape to be redone. And so what I would say is I think I am now a size C because when I first got out of surgery, I was like, okay, I want to buy a million things and was buying a size small thinking, oh, I've got these like, a little small chest now. And honestly, I'm still big enough, like not huge, but big in my opinion. And so like it's proportional for my body. I think they're the perfect size, but I think I'm leaning more to like a full C, which isn't far off from a double D. So my advice to you, if you are shopping ahead of time and you aren't sure what you're going to be, I was always a size medium unless it was something like form fitting for my chest. And then I'd buy like, a large or extra large if it was adjustable. But in general, in t-shirts, I was a medium. Like, my shoulders and my ribs are still the same size. And so I got a little bit excited and bought a lot of clothes in a size small that I can fit into, but just kind of keep buying for your same size. I would suggest, you're just going to have a nice lifted chest. Those clothes are going to fit you a lot better than they did before. But that's not to say, that you're losing all of this weight either. So you're kind of still the same size in general. Bra wise, though, that you're going to have to maybe wait until you recover to fully get sized for that. I haven't done that yet because I've just been living in those sports bras. I've purchased some sports bras, though, in a size medium, and they do seem to fit. I've tried them on for a few minutes. I'm actually wearing a Lululemon. I think it's called a cloud bra. I can't remember, but I actually do have this linked in my shop my because I love it. It's very light and very kind of form fitting, a little bit of a pad, but not too much. It's like called, I know the word cloud is in it. That is exactly what it feels like. So I would suggest that, but I love Lululemon. So that's just one of my favorites. That's why I put it in there. But something like this is nice and easy, and it's a size 8. And next question was, did I use insurance, and then how much did it cost? So I didn't really tap into this in the last episode, I will admit. I did not use insurance because I've heard that, insurance companies really do not like to cover this procedure anymore. I mentioned in the past that my mother had this exact same surgery when she was my age. So, however many years ago that was, she had the surgery and it was covered by insurance. And since then, they've really kind of stopped doing that. And I have heard it's a really hard process. I've heard you have to have like a very long medical history of trying to fix the problem, like going to physical therapy or going to a chiropractor or having like steroid injections for pain. Or I'm not a medical professional, but all of the things you would need to like try to prove that you have tried every avenue before going into surgery. And so I did not want to do all of that. I thought about it several years ago and it didn't work out. And I'm grateful it didn't because I ended up actually getting pregnant after. And I was so happy that I was able to nurse my daughter. And I was happy to have the surgery after nursing my daughter. So now they're going to look good forever instead of maybe like getting big again and flat again. So that's just something to consider. So I do not know. I know that the doctor I used did not use insurance. That wasn't even a question. One of the main paperwork disclaimers at the very beginning when you first walk in is like, hey, we cannot take insurance. And then I did not discuss how much I paid. I just, I even still in this episode, it's not that I'm really trying to hide anything from you guys. I really want to be as authentic and genuine as possible. It's just, I'm not a surgeon. It's just so not my place to say. I live in Arizona. That is where my surgeon is. Who knows what his price is compared to anyone else's. I will say this, though. He's located in Glendale, Arizona, and I know Scottsdale, Arizona will charge a much more significant higher price. So you have to kind of just be aware of, where your surgeon's located. I mentioned in last week's episode, who my surgeon was and how great he was. I do still suggest him if you want to go check that out. All the information's in that other episode. But he was on probably the average range, I would say. And, I'm just going to say a very wide range here is somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000 is how much it costs. And there are credit cards available that you can go get, or if you already have credit cards, you can certainly use a credit card. Or they have health credit cards that you can apply for that basically are meant to pay for a large surgery like this. So you pay the doctor up front and then you pay that credit card over time. Next question was how much walking was required to reduce blood clots or prevent blood clots, I should say. Honestly, my doctor didn't really give me any specifications of how much to walk. In the paperwork that he gave, it did say try to move around. You are not being put on bed rest. Your legs are very capable of movement, and they certainly were. So I tried to walk around my house. I live in Arizona. It is insanely hot right now. I am filming this currently in July. I had my surgery in June, so it is hot outside. And what I will say too is anytime walking outside and sweating feels so uncomfortable in that tight sports bra with the scarring and the stitches. And so I wasn't walking a lot outside. I was walking around my house though, just like how I would typically walk around. And now I am 4 weeks recovered. I have been to the gym a few times only to walk on the treadmill. And I've done a few little lower body weight only exercises, like some squats, some lunges, just to move my body a little bit. But the sweat, like I said, is just extremely uncomfortable, unfortunately. But I will get cleared to fully work out at 6 weeks. And stay tuned for that because I am about to lock in with my body and make it look nice and tight. So I'm ready. 2 more weeks. I'm counting down to really hit the gym and get after it. Next question was, how was it seeing your results for the first time? And do you have any tips to prepare? So I talked about this in the last episode too. I had a wild experience switching out of the ace bandage and all of the gauze into the sports bra. So the first time I saw myself was a little horrifying. I'm not like overly sensitive to surgery and medical procedures, but like I never choose to watch that kind of stuff either. And it wasn't really seeing my body, with the scars. It was the smell of the iodine. Oh, it was horrible. I have a degree in exercise and wellness, and we had to dissect human bodies in college. And so it reminded me of that. It's a smell you have to get used to, but then for it to be on your own body and then this close to your nose, that I will try to prepare you for it. So that was kind of gross. It made me very lightheaded. I had like hot flashes sitting in my bathroom. I would suggest certainly first few times you see yourself, if it's going to be in front of a mirror, have a fan nearby, cool yourself off, maybe be seated. And also, because I also started hyperventilating and just like left my bathroom and was panicking that I didn't have the support and I like needed to sit because I didn't want to fall and land on my chest or even my back or my head. So that was a little bit of a crazy moment, but that really only lasted 3 to 5 minutes, that whole entire thing. So once I got my sports bra on, I felt all better. And then seeing myself for the first few times after that, felt great. Like they looked good. They were probably swollen. So I really wasn't sure what they were going to look like. I was excited, um, but still unsure. So now though that I'm 4 weeks out, I love the way they look. They have settled more. Most of the scabbing is kind of peeling off. That sounds kind of gross to talk about, but where my scars are going to be, some of the seam is flawless. Like it looks like there won't be a line there at all. A lot of it still has to heal though. But in general, like I love the way that they look and they definitely look so much better in clothing. I'm so pumped about that. Obviously, you want them to look good without clothing. We'll get there. I'm still healing and I know it takes time. So the size though is perfect and the positioning is great. And so we will get there. Next question was, what is or was the scariest part so far? So I kind of have a few things. I want to say the preparation before the surgery was very scary. I was very scared about the anesthesia. I think that's probably a pretty common fear for anyone. If you feel like you are generally healthy, though, you know, these are medical professionals. I had never been under anesthesia. I was very nervous for that. The anesthesiologist made me feel very safe and secure the day of surgery. And then honestly, it felt like just a beautifully quick nap. I didn't even know they were about to put me under. All of a sudden, I wake up and it was done and everything went so perfectly smoothly. So that scared me certainly the most. Now, since having the surgery, I think some of the scarier moments for me, only because the first day when I got out of that sports bra was kind of a traumatic experience, in my opinion. So the next few times after that to go take a shower was the only time I took that sports bra off. So to take a shower and to know I was going to be by myself, that first time I was with my mom. And so at least she could help me if needed. But I didn't like necessarily want her in the shower with me, right? So I'm a grown adult. And so I would go and take a shower by myself, and that made me nervous. I have a bench in my shower. It was very helpful. Also, actually, I didn't mention this. I didn't shower for kind of like 2 or 3 days. But what I did do was I sat in my bathtub with the water very, very low. You cannot be fully submerged in water. But I had the water very low and, got soap and just rubbed my whole body with it. I even, like, while I was sitting there, shaved my legs. And then the first time I washed my hair, I actually just bent over in my kitchen sink and my mom washed my hair for me. And then she blow dried my hair for me. So those are kind of the experiences you're going to have for the first few days. But after a couple of days and after a couple of showers, the iodine smell went away. And then it's pretty easy after that. I've had a few things where I feel like I'm pulling when I try to shave my legs if I reach across, like my right arm to my left leg. So just move slowly, be very gentle, be cautious. You will be surprised at how much you actually can do post surgery. And they say not to, of course. You're supposed to keep your elbows by your side and just really, don't reach too high, don't overdo it. But you kind of can. And so that's why you have to be a little bit more in the mindset. So I'm just trying to say this to prepare you. Like, you're actually going to feel pretty great after surgery. You're not going to be as tied down and, bedridden as you are maybe anticipating. You're going to be able to do a lot, but obviously you want to tell yourself not to do a lot. So that's something to definitely take into consideration with your occupation. If you have a job where you require a lot of movement, that really will still be limited. But my full-time job is a desk job, and I've been totally able to sit at my desk and do it without any problems at all. However, I did take a week off because that was what my surgeon recommended. So, and that honestly is probably really due to the prescription pain medicine. Your brain, it does not function when you're on that. But what I will say about it, it helped me sleep a lot because it just knocks me right out every 6 hours. When I took it, I was like, I can't even function. My eyes were rolling in the back of my head and I would just pass out. So, or no, I shouldn't say pass out. I would go lay down and pass out. So nothing dangerous, but I think I maybe got off on a tangent. So yeah, the scariest part was taking those showers by myself. Sorry about that. So the next question is, can you describe your pain after? Maybe that's where I was going with all that pain medicine talk. So pain was very moderate. I will say, I think pain meds helped a lot. I took it every 6 hours. I switched to Tylenol after 5 days. I am 4 weeks out now. I only take Tylenol as needed now. Some days I feel like, yeah, they're kind of hurting, kind of more towards bedtime where I'm like, I want to sleep well. So I would really rather not wake up in pain. So I will take it in those instances. But they do say too, if you feel pain, it's maybe a sign that your body's trying to tell you, like, you got to really slow it down. And so maybe that's why most of my pain has been occurring, is that I'm not slowing down enough, but I am doing my best to just kind of chill, take it easy. But the pain itself is, I'm thinking in my head, like, massive pain you just got cut into, and it really wasn't like that at all. My whole body felt so great. My arms felt great. I even felt like I could certainly lift my arms if I wanted to. I wasn't going to hurt myself by any means because my arms are separate from my chest. But, it just felt like a little bit of like a dully, achy pain in that general area. Nowhere else though. So that was actually very easy to tolerate. I will say that. Maybe I have a high tolerance, but the pain meds help a lot. And, if it's prescribed to you, feel comfortable taking them as long as you don't feel like you're going to get addicted to them, which is kind of a fear for some people. But Tylenol totally works just the same. Next question was, what are some of my go-to meals since I've been recovering? So I did mention this on Instagram that I've been very lucky. I've had some people kind of cooking for me. My mom was here for 3 weeks. That was so lovely. So she was cooking for me, even though I probably could have. There are some things that you cannot do, I would say. Like, I learned the hard way. I wanted to boil some water and cook some pasta for my daughter. She's only 3, and realized, like, oh yeah, the pot of boiling hot water is heavy and you're not supposed to lift, over 5 pounds. So that's something to take into consideration. Also, if you are cooking something with like an air fryer, for instance, to get it out of my cabinet, I've had to have somebody like actually lift it and take it out so that I can cook. So that's why it's just been easier to have people cook for me or to go, pick up food. But generally, I want to be as healthy as I possibly can because I have this new chest and I want to have this brand new body, but I'm not supposed to exercise for 6 weeks. So I've been kind of in this mindset of like, okay, I really got to lock in on my diet. I've been trying to really implement a lot of extra vegetables and extra protein into all of my meals. I've also really been trying to lock in on hydration. If you do not know this, you are supposed to drink half of your body weight in pounds in that many ounces. So let me do some easy math here. If you weigh 150 pounds, divide that in 2 is 75. That's how many ounces of water you should be drinking daily. And then, of course, to go beyond that is certainly suggested. So I've been trying to really drink a lot of water, help with my recovery, eat some vegetables, get some nutrients. Some days, though, I don't want to cook or have the ability to cook. And so we just go out and get food. So I've been not as locked in as I want to be, but I will be locked in soon once I'm able to exercise. That's what I keep telling myself. So that's just some things to take into consideration. If you already have frozen meals planned, like somebody wants to bring you food in bulk, that's a great idea, but make sure that it's not in too large of a container for you to take it out of the freezer yourself to defrost it. Maybe have some pre-made meals planned individually or by things like, salads, things that are easy to cook. I don't know. I'm not really a huge nutritionist, to be totally honest, but I know what's good for me to eat. That's not to say that I practice what I preach always, but I would certainly suggest higher protein, higher vegetables, really try to help engage in that recovery. And then the last question that I got was, would I recommend this surgery? So that's a big one, you guys. I feel so weird recommending surgery because I know it's not in everyone's budget and I know it's not in everyone's ability to go do this. And surgery is a little bit frowned upon in some instances, but for me in general, I feel like a brand new woman. I feel completely like an unlocked version of myself that has been trapped. I mentioned this in some of my captions on Instagram, but mentally, I felt confident before the surgery, but in my physical body, I didn't. And I will say this, and this is going to tie into kind of my overall vibe of this podcast in Average Glow is I just want women to feel so insanely confident about themselves. And to instill confidence in others, I have to feel so insanely confident about myself. And I went on what I've been calling an up leveling journey for the last almost a year now. I have made insane, drastic improvements in my life in just the best way in every single aspect because I've been manifesting and putting effort and energy into those things. And so to me, my mind was so insanely elevated. I have all my affirmations down. I believe in myself. I'm so capable of anything I want to achieve. I believe all of these things to be true, right? And my physical body just did not match that mental. It wasn't that I was so insecure about my physical. It was just like, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that woman who sought out male attention because I had a large chest. I am not that woman who wants to be perceived for who she is because of her large chest. The amount of comments that kind of said that of just like, I'm nothing without them. It's like, I don't want to live like that anymore. I do feel like I lived like that for 20 years since they were part of me when I was 15 and they grew in. It was such a huge identity for me and not one that I'm even proud of, and I just wanted a new chapter, just start fresh. I want to look my best to how I feel like I look my best. I'm not doing this for others. I'm not doing this for validation or approval from others. I don't need a single human being coming up to me and saying, wow, you look so good. Because I want to look so good for myself, and I know I look so good. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a little bit braggy. I'm usually a very humble person, in my opinion, and I hear myself that I'm not coming off that way, but I just wanted to feel like myself again. I didn't want to enter a room chest first. I just want to like blend in physically so that my personality and my abilities and my brain and everything else that I have to offer can have the spotlight to shine. And ooh, so I am so grateful that I had this procedure. And if this is something that resonates with you, then yes, I do very highly recommend it. I just can't really say I'm feeling a little bit emotional about that. It has changed my life. It's only been 4 weeks and this is just the beginning. It's instilling the confidence in myself that like I can achieve and accomplish any single thing I want out of life. And what I'm excited about, like I mentioned, is this confidence I have in myself is going to be poured back into this podcast. And there is so much more to come. All of this that I do for this podcast is to inspire women, to empower women, to reignite that light inside of women who have overcome hard challenges or are feeling stuck in their life. And so I'm so excited for what's to come for this podcast and from what's to come in from a business standpoint. I really hope that you stay along for the journey and along for the ride. I appreciate you all who were here from the beginning, who maybe don't have any interest in breast reduction content, who are possibly still listening to this. I will be returning to my normal messages next Sunday, I am sure, but I just really appreciate you. And if this is kind of your vibe and what you're wanting is just that full inspiration and motivation, please come back and check me out next week and for the following weeks to come. I am a newer podcast host, so any support you can show me would be so highly appreciated. Of course, on Instagram, but really on YouTube and any of the podcast platforms. I just really want to get the show going. And so I appreciate you for listening and subscribing and sharing and doing all of the things to support me. If you are interested, there are some other episodes you should go check out. I just completed a whole series that kind of goes in this last tangent I just went on, and it's called the Becoming Her series. And it is all designed to help you define the woman you want to become, embody the mindset of a woman who already has all of those things, become her by taking actionable steps. And then the fourth episode is sustaining her, and that is keeping that new, beautiful, vibrant woman alive. And so Each of these 4 episodes are free, of course. It is just a podcast. And along with the free podcast are free editable digital templates that the links are in the description for. You can download those. You can print them if you want to handwrite them. There's just a lot of nice prompts, and the whole series will walk you through it. I don't need to walk you through it right now, but if you want to go check that out, those were just posted recently. Again, it's called the Becoming Her series. It's just a 4 episode series. And hopefully it helps you kind of lock in and reinvigorate this new identity of yours. And I would love to hear from you. If you have already listened to it or if you plan to listen to it, please let me know, leave a comment. And also just on this video in general, wherever you're listening to it, if you can leave a comment, or maybe if you have more questions, I would be happy to answer those. And maybe I'll take those questions over to Instagram. Or if you just have a comment, I am just loving hearing your stories and really like connecting with women. I have so many women in my DMs right now. It's so lovely. I love it. So again, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next week.